On today's show, we are diving into the SEC for the 2025 college football season. Yeah, we're going to do things a little bit differently this year. It's been quite a while since I have put out a podcast, but I am ready to dive into it. Football season is right around the corner, so let's go through all 16 teams in the SEC.
Can you believe it? It's football. I've been watching it for 40 years.
Are you kidding me?
You're listening to Winning Cures Everything.
Game day, baby. Wake up or get out.
Here's your host,
A confident young man, a superb athlete.
Gary Seegers.
Welcome in. It is Winning Cures Everything. It's a college football podcast. I'm your host, Gary Seegers, at GaryWCE on all the different socials. And yes, it has been months since I have been here, but football season is right around the corner. I am ready to dive back into it, and today we are going to start with the SEC. We're going to do things a little bit differently this year. I'm going to go through the 4 power conferences and do quick blurbs about every single team, what I think about their win total, etc. I've looked at the schedules. I've looked through basically everything about these teams, and I will give you my thoughts. Give you what my bets are, of course, once we get into August, etc. But for now, we're going through every SEC team. We're going to do the Big Ten. We're going to do the Big 12. We're going to do the ACC. And then I'm going to do deeper dives into my top 30 rated teams. So we'll have individual videos for those 30 teams, and that will be it. So this is going to be a fun rest of July. I'm looking forward to it. Hopefully you are as well, but for right now, if you haven't already, of course, subscribe, like the video, leave a review on whatever your favorite podcast app is. Of course, Spotify allows you to do comments on individual videos now. Things are a little different with that. So go ahead and do those things to help support the show. I am going to be rolling, of course, with bettingcfb.com, etc. Going to be putting out my best bets over there as well. Might be some other things in the works. So pay attention to that. Make sure you are right here on Winning Cures Everything. All right, I've got my notes ready. I'm ready to rock and roll. Hopefully you are as well. Let's dive into it. The 2025 SEC figures to be the deepest, most star-studded conference in college football. You got Texas and Georgia squaring off as prohibitive favorites for a rematch of last year's, playoff thriller. Not playoff thriller, but an SEC title game thriller. Kirby Smart's Georgia Bulldogs, just an absolute loaded roster on both sides of the ball. Arch Manning's Texas Longhorns, that's right, Arch Manning, bolstered by a top-ranked recruiting class, and the conference's highest-scoring offense last season. They are the preseason pick to knock them off. They are a lot of people believe that they are the team to beat in college football this season. LSU and Alabama not far behind. Alabama, of course, new offensive coordinator. LSU, a portal overhaul. Both rosters just loaded with elite talent. You've got a rash of elite quarterbacks in this conference this year. You got John Mateer at Oklahoma, Jackson Arnold at Auburn. Okay. We're gonna say he's elite. He's certainly gonna have the wide receiver core to prove that. And of course, you got a new quarterback at Tennessee with Joey Aguilar coming in from App State via UCLA. What a world we live into. But all this stuff adds intrigue to what figures to be really the toughest conference in the country. For sure. On defense, the league again led FBS in scoring defense. They produced 2 of the top 3 sack leaders. It sets the stage for maybe some low-scoring slugfests. And we'll see what happens with that. 7 of the conference's 16 teams returned double-digit wins, and they boast win totals or over-unders of 8 or better. And that it just kind of shows you how high the ceiling is across the board. From the opener in Columbus with Texas and Ohio State, all the way through the SEC championship game in Atlanta. Every weekend in this conference is going to be must-watch television. So let's go on and get into it. We're going alphabetically here. The Alabama Crimson Tide. Kalen DeBoer's second year in Tuscaloosa. It hinges on, I think, Ty Simpson's growth under center. You got a revitalized aerial attack from new offensive coordinator Ryan Grubb, who was with Kalen DeBoer at basically all of his stops except for his first year in Tuscaloosa. Grubb, of course, was the offensive coordinator for the Seattle Seahawks last season. On defense, you got a veteran secondary. You got Jackson, Brown, Sabb, and Hubbard. The Tide should force turnovers at an elite rate. you would think, provided the defensive front stays healthy. I think they're going to consistently pressure quarterbacks. Don't think that's going to be a problem. Simpson's development, it's going to be buoyed by true freshman stars, of course, Ryan Williams. You got Jeremy Bernard, who is a veteran at this point. That they are going to determine how often DeBoer leans on play action, vertical shots downfield. If the left tackle, Caden Proctor, and the center, Parker Brailsford, anchor the line, Alabama should control the trenches. Right tackle, Wilkin Formby. That's going to be interesting. If he falters, the offense maybe risks too many quick third downs. You got an early road test at Florida State. You got Wisconsin coming in the third game of the season. Those are going to serve as barometers maybe for championship viability. Neither one of those teams is expected to be great. But if Alabama can't handle them, that SEC schedule looks a lot more daunting. So, ceiling for this team, 12-1. Absolutely stacked roster. That is the ceiling for this team. The most likely record, to me, probably 10-2. The floor for this team, I think, is 8-4. Your win total here is 9.5. To go over is -108, under is -112, so 9.5 seems to be just about right. If you go over to FD, you can get over 8.5. You're giving up a lot of juice. I think it's like -180, something along those lines. I think that would maybe be the way to go, because then you can get either 9 or 10 wins and safely go over, but you are giving up a lot there. You got to bet 180 to win back 100. SEC championship odds are +700 here. I like their odds. I like that. I don't know. We'll get through the other teams, but +700 feels like a pretty good bet here. I would go over the win total with Alabama. Let's move to the Arkansas Razorbacks. Sam Pittman, his 6th season. It brings some continuity this year. Bobby Petrino, of course, up-tempo offense. Veteran-laden defense led by linebackers Xavier Sorey Jr. Got to read my notes. And Steven Dix Jr. You got the dual-threat quarterback, Taylon Green. It's going to open running lanes for Braylon Russell and Mike Washington Jr. And you've got a new receiver trio. I'm knocking things over all over the place. Good gracious. New receiver trio. You got Blake, Cisse, and Sharp. They aim to replace some departed playmakers. And, yes, there was some stuff going on in the offseason about the wide receivers didn't like Taylon Green. He couldn't get him the ball, whatever it is. But the truth is, the offensive line's ability to protect Green and limit the turnovers, which was one of Arkansas's Achilles' heels in 2024, that's going to be critical in tight SEC matchups. On defense, they're replacing their edge rusher, Landon Jackson. That's a storyline to watch. Charlie Collins and Quincy Rhodes, they must step up and maintain pressure here. You got key matchups at Ole Miss, and LSU is going to reveal whether the Razorbacks have got depth to withstand a pretty rugged schedule here. Ceiling for Arkansas this year, I think, is pretty high, actually. 9-4, somewhere around there. I think if everything goes right, they could get there. Most likely record, I think they're going to be pretty good. I think they can be pretty good. I've got them maybe 7-6 with a bowl win, so you're looking at like 6-6 regular season, maybe 7-5 regular season, lose the bowl game. It all depends. Floor, I think, is probably 5-7. I don't see them only winning 4 games. I think if a lot of things go wrong, maybe you can do 4 wins, maybe something along those lines. Your win total here, over under 5.5. Over is +112 to go under -138. SEC championship odds, they're not going to win the SEC championship. +12,000. +12,000. That is insane. 120-1. That's crazy. They're not going to win the SEC. But could they make a bowl game? Yeah, absolutely. The question will be whether or not that is enough for Sam Pittman to keep his job. Everybody there loves Pittman, but everybody there wants better for this program. Do they think that somebody else can sell hope better than Pittman can? That's the question. All right, we move on to the Auburn Tigers. Year 3 under Hugh Freeze, this is make or break, right? The beefed-up offensive line, highlighted by Chaplin and Murphy. They should open up some lanes for Jackson Arnold, who did not do so hot at Oklahoma. Of course, Arnold transferred in from there. You do have other options at quarterback. Deuce Knight, of course, stud freshman coming in. Ashton Daniels comes in from Stanford. The offensive coordinator, Derek Nix, he inherits some playmakers like Cam Coleman. They bring in Eric Singleton Jr., wide receiver from Georgia Tech, and paid a fortune to get him. They've also got Horatio Fields. It gives Auburn some firepower to stretch out defenses. Speaking of defense, on the defensive side, you got DJ Durkin. His front is bolstered by Keldrick Falk and Caleb Wheatland. They could rank among the SEC stingiest if Auburn eliminates those late-game lapses that they had last year. Turnover margin going to be a key metric this year. Positive swing here could be the difference between 8 wins or a losing record, right? You got a brutal early slate here that's going to tell you all you need to know about this. They got Baylor in the first game of the year. Oklahoma comes in early, Texas A&M. Or not comes in, but you go to Oklahoma. That's going to test their mettle before conference play. Ceiling for this team, I think, is insanely high. I mean, 10-2. Most likely, 7-5, 8-4, somewhere around there. So the win total, being at 7.5 certainly makes sense. The floor for this team, 5-7 again. You go 5-7, Hugh Freeze will not be there. I would put a lot of money on that. But we don't know yet. We don't know what that's going to look like. So floor 5-7. Your over-under win total is 7.5 here. Over at -162. Under is +132. So a lot of faith in the over here to win the SEC. +3,500. So 35-1. I think the schedule is too difficult for that. You still got Alabama and Georgia on this schedule. You've got trips to Oklahoma. There's a lot. There's a lot there. I am not seeing it. So, we move on. The Florida Gators. Billy Napier's Gators, of course. This is probably the most complete roster that they have had in his time there. Healthy DJ Lagway under center, we think. Now, I have heard some people come out and say, it's just a pain tolerance thing. He's still injured, but he's going to be dealing with it. Okay, let's see what happens. But while he is healthy, DJ Lagway is an absolute stud. You got a veteran offensive line. It's going to be anchored by Jake Slaughter. You got 2 1,000-yard rushers in Jaden Baugh and Jacoby Jackson. The offense should rank among the SEC's most efficient. But red zone execution, that's going to be under the microscope given last year's struggles. Defensively, Ron Roberts, he takes over. Last year, he was a co-DC along with Austin Armstrong, and Armstrong now is the DC at Houston. But Ron Roberts moved up into the booth, and in doing that, it allowed him to see the field a little more clearly. That defense certainly played better down the stretch, and they had a nice winning streak to end the season. But it's a simplified scheme for Roberts. You got playmakers like Tyreek Sapp, Caleb Banks, LJ McCray. They project to ramp up pressure and force some turnovers this year. Key road games at LSU early. You got Texas A&M. Those are going to gauge Florida's ability to maintain balance away from Ben Hill Griffin Stadium. If Lagway stays healthy, the defense sustains some takeaways. I mean, you could be looking at a playoff team here. There's a lot of hype on this team, and it comes with a reason behind it, right? Ceiling for this team, I think, is 11-1. I think they could absolutely win 11 games. They're most likely. I'm high on this team. 8-4, 9-3, somewhere around there. The floor, probably 6-6. Now, if Lagway gets hurt, you got some other things go wrong. Yeah, this thing could absolutely bottom out. But the over-under is 7.5. Over +108. The under -132. I like the over here. SEC championship odds. Now, I don't know about that because the schedule is brutal. It's +3,300. So 33-1. Okay. I could see this. But I kind of like the win total over with Florida. The Georgia Bulldogs. Moving along here. Kirby Smart's Dogs, of course, face a massive roster turnover. 11-3 season last year. You lose 4 first-round picks on defense. You lose Carson Beck at quarterback. He's transferred over to Miami. Now, I will tell you, of course, Georgia said, that's cool. Go ahead. We got freshman turned starter Gunner Stockton here, who is Mike Bobo's boy. Of course, Bobo, the offensive coordinator. There's a lot to like about Stockton. I don't know that I've necessarily seen it as a quarterback, though. So we'll see exactly what happens here. But he's got to command an offensive line that's led by Ernest Green and Monroe Freeling to protect and open some lanes here. On defense, replacing interior stalwarts is not going to be easy. But you do have some veterans here. You got Kristen Miller. You got Jordan Hall. You got J.L. McLeod. Those guys are going to anchor the line. Of course, Elijah Griffin in the secondary, they provide playmaking upside. It's going to be a lot of new faces here. You got early tests at Tennessee and Auburn. You got home dates against Alabama and Texas. I want to say it'll be pivotal for seeding in a potential CFP bid. This is a tough schedule. They have got the talent to be able to get through it, and the home schedule is certainly better this year. If both trenches gel, Georgia remains among the national elite. If not, this schedule could certainly cause some problems. The ceiling for this team is 12-0. Most likely, probably 11-1, 10-2, somewhere around there. The floor for this team, I think, is 9-3. But, I mean, if Stockton doesn't live up to what people think, if the running game does not get going, it could be a very interesting year in Athens. The over-under here is 9.5. It's over -170. To go under is +138. I would still probably go over, even with that juice there. The SEC championship odds for the Dogs this year is plus at 390. Yeah, that's second. That's second only behind Texas. I mean, this team was not great last year, and they still won the SEC. You know, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? The Kentucky Wildcats. Mark Stoops enters year 13 under really mounting pressure. And this was after a rare losing season that they had last year. Just nothing went right for them other than a win at Ole Miss, but that was their only conference win last year. A team that everybody thought should have been in the playoff, and they got the win in Oxford. And granted, it was a last-second, deep pass, throw it up for the gods kind of thing. But regardless, they do bring in a veteran quarterback, Zach Calzada, this year. Tackles, Pete, and I'm not even going to try and pronounce this, Alex. Yeah, they lead an offensive line that's got to protect. They got to sustain drives, which are areas that just completely collapsed in 2024. The backfield's Dante Dowdle and Jamarian Wilcox are going to be tested in SEC matchups. The receiving core needs just consistent third down conversions because they did not have that last year. Some of that's going to be on the quarterback. The wide receivers have got to catch the ball this year. Defensively, you got impact transfers here, Humphrey Grace and David Gusta. They got to ignite a pass rush that was middling last season. If turnovers drop and the trenches hold, Kentucky can get to bowl eligibility. If not, this could be a terrible season again. And then you got to figure out, does Kentucky want to pay this massive buyout that Mark Stoops is owed? Or are they content with doing this while they're trying to rebuild that basketball program? I think that's a good question. Ceiling for this team is 8-4. Most likely record, probably 5-7, maybe. The floor for this team, I think, is 4-8, maybe 3-9, if things just absolutely fall off. If Zach Calzada goes back to being, when he transferred from Texas A&M, he went over to Auburn and did nothing. And he got to the point where he had to drop down to FCS. He dropped down to Incarnate Word. Now, he put up some banger numbers at Incarnate Word. But that's who they're hitching their wagon to. Their over-under this year is 4.5. So the floor, I think, probably 3-9. The most likely, I think, probably 5-7. But over -120 on a win total of 4.5, not great. SEC championship odds plus 30,000. 300-1. Yeah, they are not winning the SEC this year. They are not winning the SEC. All right, we move along. We continue on in the action. Like the video if you haven't already. Of course, subscribe to the podcast. Leave a nice 5-star review. And jump in the comments. If you think I got these teams wrong, I want to know what you think. Tell me. I am ready to hear you. All right, the LSU Tigers. Brian Kelly's fourth year brings returning Heisman candidate Garrett Nussmeier and one of the nation's deepest portal classes. The revamped offensive line, you got Tyree Adams, you got Weston Davis. They're going to dictate LSU's tempo and read zone efficiency, especially in some early tests, right? Because you play at Clemson the first game of the year. Florida, of course, third game of the year. Defensively, DC Blake Baker, he needs Harper Perkins and Whit Weeks to anchor just a vastly improved front. You got freshman phenom DJ Pickett. that could emerge in the secondary. Road trips to Ole Miss, Oklahoma, and Alabama are going to test depth. If both sides of the ball click, LSU is a playoff contender. If not, I mean, this team could go as low as 7-5. I think that's the floor for the team. The ceiling's probably 11-1. There is elite talent on this roster. Most likely record, I think 9-3. I think that's the most likely. I mean, the win total is 8.5. To go over is minus 134. Under is plus 110. So they are favored to go over the 8.5. Yeah, most likely 9-3. But a ceiling of 11-1 on this. SEC championship odds 10-1, plus 1,000 with this bunch. And I see it. I kind of need Brian Kelly to prove it to me at this point. We'll see what happens, though. The Mississippi State Bulldogs. Jeff Lebby's offense flashes potential. Of course, if Blake Shapen can stay healthy, and he did not last year. I think he got hurt in the fourth game of the year. And now his backup that played the rest of last season has transferred to LSU to be a backup. So, but they've got a reshaped offensive line. It's going to be anchored by Jacoby Jackson. The backfield duo of Davon Booth and Fluff Bothwell, of course, who comes in from South Alabama. They offer some big play juice. You need consistency in protection and ball security. That's a massive concern after last year. Defensively, the pass rush got to go up from 10 sacks to, I mean, you probably need 25 to 30 to make some kind of real difference here. But regardless, you got transfers Red Hibbler and Deontay Anderson that's coming in. Hybrid safety Isaac Smith leads a unit that's got to tighten their coverage. Non-conference wins are going to set the tone before a pretty unforgiving SEC slate. You know, if the pressure materializes and the secondary holds up, I mean, they could get to a bowl game. Otherwise, I mean, this team just is not on the same playing field with the majority of the teams that are going to be on their schedule. Ceiling for this team is probably 6-6. Like, its ceiling is making a bowl game. Most likely record, probably 4-8. The floor for this team, probably 2-10. 2 wins. And at that point, do you keep Lebby around? I mean, we really got to think about this. Their over-under is 3.5. Like, to go over is minus 148. To go under is plus 120. So we're looking at 4-8, but they didn't get there last year. It all kind of depends on Shapen. All kind of depends on how this offense gels. Maybe the defense can do something. Would you fire Lebby after 2 years if he only has 4 wins on the resume? I don't know. Because if you're Mississippi State, it's not just the coach that's the problem. I think there's more going on there. But regardless, their SEC championship odds lowest in the conference, plus 50,000, 500 to 1. Not going to happen. Not going to happen. The Missouri Tigers. Elijah Drinkwitz. His Tigers have won double-digit games in back-to-back seasons. They now aim for an SEC title. Penn State transfer quarterback Bo Pribula, or whatever you want to call him. He was the backup at Penn State last year. He's got to thrive alongside spring standout Sam Horn. You got a new receiver duo, Kevin Coleman Jr., Marquise Johnson. They offer some deep threats here on defense. Of course, Damon Wilson, Nate Johnson. They should anchor a front seven that ranks 17th nationally. And in veteran secondary leaders, Jalen Catalon and Drayden Norwood. They got to limit some big plays. Favorable home-heavy schedule sets Missouri up for success because they don't leave Missouri until middle of October, somewhere around there. But close game execution is going to decide if they reach the playoff bubble or if they settle for 7-5. Ceiling for this team is probably 11-2 with the schedule. Most likely record, 9 wins, somewhere around there, 9-3. Floor for this team is probably 7-5 because the schedule is that easy, I think. Their over-under is 7.5 here. To win the SEC, 50-1. So the elite talent is not quite there, but I mean, I think 9 wins is certainly attainable again. We'll see what Pribula looks like in this offense. I think that's a big thing here. Tickets to everything are expensive these days, and I know you're like me. You want to catch a big game or a concert, maybe even tickets to a show. Why not save some money every time you buy tickets? Visit Ticketsmarter.com or use the Ticketsmarter mobile app and use the promo code WCE10 That's WCE10 to save $10 on any order of $100 or more, or use WCE20, that's WCE20, to save $20 on an order of $300 or more. It's not a one-time sign-up bonus or anything. Seriously, every time you buy tickets, you can save money on already great deals. So do yourself a favor. Think smarter with Ticket Smarter. The Oklahoma Sooners. That's right. Bad year last year, but Brent Venables, he's going to lean on his defense again, and he is taking over defensive play calling. Now, they went after Jim Knowles, of course, the national championship winning coordinator at Ohio State. Didn't quite get him, but they did bring in a new offensive coordinator. We'll talk about that. But the defense, Venables has taken over the defense. It's going to be anchored by Mason Thomas and Adabarwore. I wrote the name down in the notes. Don't even know why I tried to pronounce it. I promise, though, you will hear his name a lot, and we will know how to pronounce it by the end of the year. But they're going to carry a revamped offense, right? So the defense, I think, is what they're going to lean on. The offense, you got Ben Arbuckle coming in as the new offensive coordinator, coming in from Washington State. He was at Western Kentucky before that. But he brings in transfer quarterback John Mateer and, of course, running back Jaden Ott that comes over from Cal. Protecting Mateer is going to be paramount. They yielded 50 sacks in 2024. If they have success there, this revamped scheme from Arbuckle should have some success. Now, on defense, linebacker core, Kip Lewis, Kendall Daniels, they got to pair with a veteran secondary to maintain last year's top 25 defensive mark. I don't think defense is going to be a problem. We just got to see if Mateer is the real deal. The schedule is pretty legit. You got early games against Michigan and Auburn. That's going to reveal if Oklahoma belongs among the SEC's upper tier. There is some hype with this team. If they stay healthy, if the offensive line can protect, the schedule is really difficult. So a 7-5 season here would actually be pretty successful. And I think bowl eligibility is likely here. Otherwise, I mean, look, ceiling on this team, they have the talent to go 10-2. The schedule is, I've called other ones brutal. This one is the most brutal. Their most likely record to me is probably 7-5. The floor for this team is 4-8. If Mateer doesn't show that he can actually play against really good teams, which every chance that he had to step up in class at Washington State, he performed poorly. So that's not a good indicator, but guy's got a lot of talent, and Arbuckle's scheme should certainly find him some spots. So the over-under on this team for the Sooners, 6.5. The over is minus 176. The under is plus 140. They're not going to win the SEC championship, but 6,500, it's not terrible. That's, 6.5, I guess. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. That schedule is brutal, absolutely brutal. The Ole Miss Rebels. Oh, yeah. You guys know how I like to talk about Lane Kiffin. His high-octane offense here. Of course, got to replace Jackson Dart. On defense, got to replace Walter Nolan. You got redshirt sophomore quarterback Austin Simmons, who his breakout game wasn't even a full game, but he came in and led a touchdown drive against Georgia in the rain in Oxford. I mean, it showed some real poise there in limited action. And I've heard some interviews with this kid. I like him. He is young. Like, he's already got his degree from Ole Miss, and he's only been there for 2 years. Hadn't even played yet. Like, he's young kid. They got deep threats, right? You got Caden Lee. You got Deshaun Stribling. You got Harrison Wallace III. Downfield attack should remain explosive, and, of course, you expect it from a Lane Kiffin offense. Got to make sure that Simmons protects the ball. On defense, Pete Golding's bunch, led by Harris, and then, of course, portal standout, Womack, etc. They're going to return a pretty fierce pass rush. They got a lot of new faces. They need some rapid cohesion in the secondary. You got a week 2 trip to Kentucky. You got home games against LSU and Florida. Those are going to define whether or not Ole Miss can sustain double-digit success. If red zone efficiency and depth hold, I mean, this team could be an 11-win team. If not, they could fall back to 6-6. It's all about how the portal class comes in and gels, because they've got a lot of new faces this year. They led on a lot of experience last year, leaned on a ton of that. Ceiling for this team, probably 11-1. Most likely record, I think, is probably 9-3. The floor for this team is, I think, 6-6. And for Ole Miss, I mean, that's good. Like, if you have a down year and you still make a bowl game, I mean, they weren't doing that under other coaches. So over-under here of 8.5 to go over -138 to go under +112. So they are favored to go over the 8.5. SEC championship odds is 10-1. About the same as LSU. A lot of hype. A lot of love for Ole Miss. I can see it. I can absolutely see it. We carry on. We still got quite a few teams to go through here. The South Carolina Gamecocks. Shane Beamer, his defense returns. It's a stingy 4-2-5 scheme under Clayton White. They're led by their edge rushers here, Dylan Stewart and Brian Thomas Jr. Offensively, sophomore quarterback Lenore Sellers. 2,500-yard season last year. He's got to build chemistry with his interior line and some emerging weapons, right? Nick Harbor has decided he is really going to focus on football now. I don't know what he was doing before, but regardless, Nick Harbor we'll see. He could be a breakout weapon. We know the athleticism is certainly there and the speed, sure. Russell Faison, I think the waiver is still pending on him. The Gamecock success hinges on offensive line health and turnover margin, two areas that really decided a lot of one-score SEC games last year. Non-conference tune-ups kind of set the tone here, but you got road trips with Missouri, LSU, and Texas A&M. Those are going to be real measuring sticks here. They catch Alabama at almost a perfect time in Columbia, so that game is certainly one to watch. If Clayton White's unit replicates last year's disruption, and I don't expect them to because they had some hosses on that line, but if they can, and if Sellers can stay upright and not turn the ball over, South Carolina could absolutely flirt with 10 wins again. If not, this team is, I think they've got a ceiling of 10 wins and a floor of like 7.5. I think this is still a really good team. Schedule is pretty difficult. The over-under is 7.5 on them with an over of +110. You've got an under -134. Most likely record, I think, 8-4. 8-4. I think that's the most likely. Even though the win total says that they should be favored to go under, I still really like South Carolina. I like Shane Beamer. He always gets more out of his team than is expected. It just kind of all depends on the development process of Lenore Sellers here. SEC championship odds at +1,800. That's 18-1. I don't think they're going to get there, but we'll see. We will see. Oh, this is a fun one. Let me get a swig. Coffee's still hot. That's good. The Tennessee Volunteers. Josh Heupel's Vols, of course, they reload around a pretty fierce defense from last year. I mean, defense led the way along with the running game last year. And they do have a revamped offense. You got App State transfer Joey Aguilar via UCLA after the whole Nico mess. And then, of course, you've got Jake Merklinger. They're going to be battling it out at quarterback. I think Aguilar is going to start, although he did have quite a few interceptions when he was at App State. We'll see exactly what this looks like. You got Deshaun Bishop and Peyton Lewis replacing Dylan Sampson's backfield production. I don't know that they're going to be quite on the level that Sampson was. I mean, Sampson was awesome. But regardless, the offensive line's cohesion, anchored by Lance Hurd and David Sanders Jr., it's going to dictate how well Tennessee balances its rushing attack, of course, with play action. On defense, Tim Banks' unit, they return depth at every level. They got to overcome the loss of key playmakers to the NFL. They went 10-3 last year. I mean, so the bar is pretty high. I think everybody understands, all right, you lost Nico right before the spring game. It's kind of a big deal. But I don't know that Joey Aguilar is bad. I mean, he's an experienced guy, has had a lot of success at App State. If both sides of the ball click, I mean, this schedule is easy enough. 11-1 is pretty attainable. Growing pains, though, could yield like an 8-4 floor. So there's your ceiling and your floor. I think your most likely is probably 9-3, maybe 8-4. Like, how about this? I bet your floor is probably 7-5 if things go just drastically wrong. I might have given them a little bit too much credit here, but ceiling of 11 wins, floor of 7 wins, most likely is probably 8 or 9 wins. We'll say that. So over-under is 8.5. To go over is +104. Yeah, it makes sense. SEC championship odds, I've got +700 written down here. I don't think that's right. I think they were closer to like +1,100, +1,200. Either way, I don't believe Tennessee is going to win the SEC this year. We'll say that. Let's move along. We're getting closer to the end here. And like I said, I don't want to spend too long on these because I am going to do deeper dives on my top 30 rated teams. But let's do it to it. The Texas A&M Aggies. Mike Elko got his second year in charge in College Station. You got a veteran-heavy offense. You got the quarterback back, Marcel Reed. You got Heisman back, Le'Veon Moss coming back from injury. A return of all 5 starting linemen should absolutely put A&M into at least the top 10 in rushing. And we know that's what the offensive coordinator there likes to do, Colin Klein. You got new weapons, KC Concepcion, who comes in from NC State. You got Mario Craver. They're going to offset the loss of Noah Thomas there. Defensively, Jay Bateman got to replace some first-rounders. Stewart, Scourton. You got transfers that came in, and certainly A&M has no problem with paying to bring in good athletes. Cassius Howell comes in. TJ Searcy, Haynes comes in. They're going to maintain pressure here. The gauntlet is interesting. You know, you got Notre Dame. You got league test at LSU, Arkansas, Texas. It's going to stretch the depth here. If the offense hums, defensive line gels, maybe they can get to 10, 11 wins. But this is a team that has not reached that in, I don't remember the last time that they got to 10 or 11 wins. You know, if things go downhill, if they turn the ball over, if the defense can't quite gel together, if they can't work, you know, there's problems. So the floor here is probably 6 wins. Ceiling, I think, is 10, maybe even 11 wins. They've certainly got the talent to win 11 games. Most likely, 8 or 9. You know, you got an over-under of 7.5. To go over is minus 176. To go under is plus 142. SEC championship odds, plus 1,600. That's 16 to 1. Yeah, I think your most likely record here is probably, I'll call it 9-3. I think that's the most likely because this schedule is relatively easy, even with Notre Dame, Texas, and LSU on there. The rest of it, though, you know, I will say 9-3. 9-3 for them. All right, we carry on. Here, I got to show you guys my new water bottle. Patrick from SpongeBob. It's goofy. Very goofy, but I love it. It's aluminum. All right, the Texas Longhorns. Steve Sarkisian's 5th season in Austin, and we finally get the Arch Manning era, right? This is full launch here. What is he now, a redshirt sophomore? I guess he's been there for 2 years already. He inherits an offense that averaged 36 points per game and returns a 1,000-yard back in Wisner. The offensive line is going to be huge here. You got to protect Manning, but it's a relatively new offensive line. You know, you got Trevor Gooseby and then 4 fellow first-time starters. I say relatively. I mean, it's a completely new offensive line, so that's going to be a problem. This is the defining challenge of fall camp. We're going to see what they do. Defensively, Colin Simmons, you got a host of transfer additions. They are going to try and reestablish the front 7 dominance, and the defense was lights out last year. Unbelievable. You got a non-conference opener at Ohio State, SEC road tests at Florida, at Georgia. I mean, it's going to separate contenders from pretenders. If Arch Manning is the real deal, some of those should be winnable. If they navigate that gauntlet, they're back in the playoff, right? No problem. If not, probably 9-3 because you'll probably lose all 3 of those and win all the rest. And that just kind of depends on the Texas A&M game as well. Ceiling for this team, I think, is 11-1. I don't think you're going to go through unscathed. Most likely, I would say probably 10-2. And that's if you trust Arch Manning. The floor for this bunch, I think, would probably be 8-4. Even though you get A&M at home, that's the floor. But I'm not expecting the floor here. Their SEC championship odds, they're the favorite. They're plus 210. Their over-under is 9.5. To go over is minus 192. You got to bet $192 to win back $100. That's crazy. To go under is plus 154. I'd almost bet the under just because of the odds. You know? Like, if something doesn't click here because they are replacing a lot of talent. Now, they did bring in a lot of really good talent to replace it, but still. All right. Let's do this thing. You guys know what's up. The Vanderbilt Commodores. That's right. Clark Lee, he is back in Nashville. They broke through last year, 7-6 season. Continuity is the name of the game in year 4 here. Quarterback Diego Pavia, he returns thanks to a court order that allows him to keep playing, even though he's already exhausted his eligibility per the old rules. But apparently his junior college years don't count, so it is what it is. But he returns with a revamped offensive line, headlined by Jordan White. And they're going to protect Pavia. They're going to unleash the all-SEC tight end Eli Stowers, or Stowers, however you pronounce it. And then, of course, junior Sherrill. That guy. So they got talent, right? Steve Gregory's defense, you got portal tackles and hybrid safety Randon Fontenette. There you go. They're going to focus on third down stops and scoring prevention. The non-conference slate offers up some confidence builders. But the SEC tests at Alabama, at LSU, Texas, that's going to expose some depth limits here. If Pavia stays upright, the defense holds firm late, another bowl bid is within reach. If not, you're probably looking at 4-8, something along those lines, which is what we have come to expect from Vanderbilt in the years. The ceiling for this team, 9 wins. I'm not putting anything past Pavia. I mean, this schedule is pretty difficult, especially for a team that is limited like the Commodores. But, we're looking at most likely record here with the amount of experience that they brought back. I'm thinking probably 6-6 is most likely. The floor for this team is 4-8. If Pavia gets injured, there ain't no telling. I mean, I don't even know that you can win all the non-conference games at that point. The over-under here is 4.5. To go over is minus 188. Under is plus 152. The SEC championship odds plus 30,000, 300 to 1. So they're not going to win that, but a fun, plucky underdog team that went 8-2 against the number as a dog last year, but they were 0-2 as a favorite, so something to pay attention to with that. As far as who I think is going to win the conference, I love the odds on Alabama. Got to see what the quarterback looks like. This is such a confusing year for really every conference, for the entire landscape of college football. But the Alabama roster with Grubb and DeBoer back together, I feel good about them. So I'm going to go with Alabama, and if they beat Georgia, how about this? They won't beat Georgia in the regular season. Give me Alabama and Georgia. Give me Alabama and Georgia rematch in Atlanta. Let's go. That's what I'm going to pick for this, and I will take the Tide to come out on top in the SEC in 2025. All right. What a fun trip back. Can't wait to be doing this again every single week. Of course, there will be more podcasts coming out. Again, I'm going to do the SEC, the Big 10, the Big 12, and the ACC, and then I'm going to do deeper dives on my top 30 rated teams heading into the season. Hopefully you guys will stick around. Subscribe to the show on YouTube. Of course, bettingcfb.com will be up and rolling, so hopefully you were already a member over there. If not, make sure to join in. I'll be putting my best bets over there. And we'll be going through quite a few things. There's some things in the works. We'll say that. Subscribe on podcast. Leave a nice 5-star review. You guys know what's up. With that said, let's get out of here. Take care of yourself. Take care of each other. God bless college football. And hopefully all of your tickets cash this week. Thanks for listening to Winning Cures Everything. Make sure and follow me on Twitter @GaryWCE. If you want to toss in a question, you can email me Gary@winningcureseverything.com. Make sure and hit that subscribe button, and we'll see you next time.